Every city in America is wrestling with the same question right now. How do we create more affordable housing? You likely see new construction going on in your community with new apartment buildings or neighborhoods going up. But for a lot of people, the cost to live in this new construction is out of reach. A lot of this has to do with how modern development works. New projects tend to be luxury or high-end because that's what makes financial sense for developers and lenders. The idea is that these new units will eventually free up older, cheaper housing and bring rents down over time. But in a lot of neighborhoods, this isn't what happens, especially if older, cheaper units get replaced. Eventually, you run out of older, cheaper options. And as development in an area accelerates and the land becomes more valuable, the places that were once affordable often become the hardest to stay in. Old buildings are torn down, new ones go up, and the people who live there are forced to move further and further away from the neighborhoods they know. In East Nashville's McFerrin Park neighborhood, that future felt inevitable. For decades, this site was home to a modest apartment community. The buildings weren't fancy and many of the systems were outdated, but the people who lived here had built their lives around this neighborhood. As the city around them grew rapidly, the pressure on the land increased. The buildings were nearing the end of their useful life, and redevelopment was becoming unavoidable. Developers knew that, and originally there were proposals to tear them down to build only luxury apartments, meaning this would dramatically increase the cost of rent compared to what was already there. And in a lot of cities, this is the moment when affordable quietly disappears. But in McFerrin Park, something different happened. In order to build new apartments here, the property had to be rezoned by the city. Residents, community leaders, and local partners made it clear through a community benefits agreement that redevelopment could not come at the cost of displacement. They didn't oppose change, they opposed being erased by change. So in order for the development to be approved to go through, the market rate developers had to include affordable options along with market rate options. And to do so, they needed to find a trustworthy partner who specialized in affordable housing development. That partner was Holiday Ventures, and out of this came Park 24.
Park 24 is a 140-unit affordable housing development created by our team at Holiday Ventures with one clear goal in mind: to preserve long-term affordability while dramatically improving the quality of housing and community life. And it ended up doing just that.
Here's how it was done. The original apartments here were two-story buildings spread across a large footprint. They offered low density and outdated housing on a site that had the potential to do a lot more for the neighborhood. So instead of doing a one-for-one replacement, the project team took a different approach and redesigned the site to use the land much more efficiently. The new development now delivers 140 modern affordable homes on just 1/6 of the original land. That's a dramatic shift in how the land is being used. So why does that matter for creating affordability?
Well, because land is one of the most expensive parts of any housing project.
When you can fit more homes on less land, you're spreading that land cost across more units. That's a huge deal in a growing city where land values keep climbing. But efficiency here wasn't just about density. It was also about how the buildings perform. All of these buildings were designed to be energy efficient and cost efficient. One of the most visible features is a 58 kilowatt solar array spread across the roof, which helps power shared community spaces. Combined with better insulation and modern green design, help to reduce energy demand and create a healthier living environment. And all these upgrades help to keep operating costs down, which saves residents an average of $276 a year on utilities, making the homes more affordable in the long run. But improving buildings was only half the story here. The real focus was on the people who already called this neighborhood home. And from the very beginning, the team made it clear that they weren't going to just rebuild the site, then tell former residents they had no place in the new version. And they kept that promise. When the original apartments reached the end of their usable life, the fear for many families was displacement. In most cities, when older affordable housing gets redeveloped, the people who lived there are forced to move somewhere else, usually farther away and usually more expensive. What made Park 24 different was the commitment to avoid that outcome from the very beginning.
Before construction ever began, the community partners and the development team created a legacy agreement that gives former residents a preferential right to return once the new homes are complete. In plain language, that means if you lived here before, you get first choice to come back and live here again at an affordable rate. And returning residents keep access to their neighborhood, their schools, their transit, their friends, and really their community network, all things that are really hard to replace once they've been lost. And today we've already had our first legacy resident move into their new home.
By making sure former residents could stay rooted in McFerrin Park, Park 24 didn't just rebuild housing. It rebuilt stability and created a foundation to grow. By partnering with the Urban League of Middle Tennessee, they created an empowerment center which focuses on community enrichment and education, and it was built within this development. But creating this whole thing wasn't easy. It required planning, coordination, and resources. Which brings us to the third strategy that made this project possible. Building affordable housing sounds simple in theory. Just build small, simple housing and make the rent cheap. In reality, it never almost works with traditional financing alone though. That's because construction costs are high, land values in growing cities are high, and banks expect projects to generate rents that cover loan payments and still produce a return. When you're intentionally renting to households earning 30 to 80% of the area median income, those numbers just don't pencil out without some kind of support. This is where creative financing comes in.
Park 24 used a funding model that combines both public incentives and private capital, which helped close the gap between what it costs to build a home and what residents can afford to pay. There was also private investment, including support from Amazon, which helped make the numbers work while still preserving affordability.
From the outside, this can seem confusing, but there are developers who specialize in this type of community-focused affordable housing. Evan Holliday, the founder of Holliday Ventures and the developer behind Park 24, has completed more than $690 million in similar projects, totaling over 2,600 units of affordable housing developed, and runs a program called Affordable Development Mastery. It's a mastermind and mentorship program that teaches how these financing tools actually work in real life, along with how to evaluate sites, structure partnerships, and manage risk throughout the process. This kind of knowledge is important because without it, projects like Park 24 would not exist. Many people want to preserve their neighborhoods and keep them affordable, but wanting it is just not enough. You need a strategy that makes the numbers work and the partnerships to carry it out. This is the kind of approach that the Affordable Development Mastery Program focuses on, and the goal is to help people move from feeling stuck or overwhelmed to thinking like capable developers who can lead these kinds of projects that actually get built. The result of this was a project that did something most neighborhoods never get to see. It rebuilt modern housing on the same land using less space, it preserved access for the people who made the neighborhood what it was, and it used a financing model that protected long-term affordability for the next 99 years instead of pricing people out. Over time, this approach can reshape how cities think about growth, because affordable housing is not just about building cheaper units. It's about designing neighborhoods that can evolve without losing the people who already live there. It proves that density can support affordability, that sustainability can lower operating costs, and that redevelopment does not have to mean displacement.
Park 24 is only the first phase of a larger master plan community that will eventually include more than 1,000 homes, 245 of them as affordable housing. And in addition to the 140 units that we are building, Korea, another developer, will build another 105 units of affordable housing along with market rate housing, retail, and services. And the future of the site is truly a walkable mixed use and mixed income community.
Projects like this aren't easy and they don't happen by accident. They require community involvement, political will, developers who understand affordable finance, and partners who are willing to look beyond short-term returns. But when those pieces line up, you get a development that serves the neighborhood rather than replacing it. If cities want to solve the housing crisis, we need more examples like this. Not just more units, but more homes that preserve community ties and stay affordable over the long term. Park 24 shows what that can look like in real life. It doesn't solve the entire housing crisis, but it gives us a working model for how to build more housing without erasing communities.